is still possible that there might be the faint chance of 1, maybe 2 more weapon DLC drops in the next month and a half leading up to the launch of Call of Duty World War II, but thus far we've seen an absolute ton of DLC weapons within Black Ops 3, and as such, there's been no shortage, seemingly, of the amount of corners that have been touched in the Black Ops franchise from those classic weapons that we've known for years now. But that said, while thinking about some weapons that may or may not once again be coming here out of this, excluding those that are already in the game code like the STG-44, the MG-08s, all those kind of things that are in Zombies, it got me thinking about 5 weapons that were fan favorites, iconic, or just overall great weapons that we've yet to see in Black Ops 3 and may very well never see. So here's a list of 5 weapons that never made it as DLC within Black Ops 3, at least as of right now. So let's start out with a more modern day classic. Let's go back to the last Black Ops title and what was probably one of the favorite weapons out of Black Ops 2? Well, I'd probably say the Ballista. Making its mark in the sniping community and, of course, still even as a weapon that a lot of casual players would end up using, it was one that definitely made its mark in the franchise's history. And of course, with its presence within Black Ops 2, it's kind of surprised me that we have not seen this added in yet. Now, of course, we still do have a couple of DLC weapons within the sniper classification, but with only the RSA interdiction and the DBSR, it still is a shortage compared to what we have in the SMGs and the assault rifle category. So, maybe one day we could end up seeing this here coming over into it, but while the Ballista was an absolute beast of a sniper, I think one that has an equal chance of having the potential, or rather that same factor of I wonder why they never brought this up, goes back to the title just before Black Ops 2 the Treyarch developed, that being Black Ops 1. That leads us into the second selection here with this 5 weapons, and that being the L96A1, a definite fan favorite, and we saw a bunch of fan service in terms of reimaginations of weapons from past games within Black Ops 3 that were classic weapons like the XMC, like the KVK, like the DBSR, like the PPSH, like the Galil, like the AK-74, like the M16, I could go on, but the L96A1 was definitively one of the classics out of Black Ops, and it was one that around that time of the growth of the sniping community was a fan favorite used by absolutely almost everyone, and while doing so much fan service within Black Ops 3 with some of these DLC weapons, bringing a lot of them back to life, it is a curious thing to me that we have not seen the L96A1 just yet. Now moving over into the third selection here that I want to talk about today, this once again goes back up to Black Ops 2 and deals with one that was interesting in its formats and how it was presented, but it was still, of course, a powerhouse in Black Ops 2, that being the PDW. Now, this one was a little bit of a curveball for some people and really a meta game, I think. It was dominant in some aspects, but some people didn't really stick to it. They more so went towards the M8, the MSMC sort of route, and of course didn't play around with too many other weapons outside of that. But for those that did experiment around with a lot of the weaponry, you know that the PDW was still a beast of a weapon. And while it might not necessarily be one of the fan favorite weapons, it was one that still, I think, had a lasting impact on how the game was played, on that category of weapons that could totally dominate in the right aspects. Now, of course, this was not reimagined as of just yet. It has been something that I've seen this recommendation throughout the community now for months and maybe even, if not an entire year at this point, in which people have wanted to see this come back, but it's one that, again, kind of scratch my head as to why. For the fourth selection, though, I think I'm going to throw it off the beaten path a little bit here, get away from ones that may necessarily be mainstream. I want to talk about one that I personally really enjoyed back in Black Ops 2, an assault rifle that, though the assault rifle category is already super saturated with how many weapons we have in there, I think it'd be awesome to see this one thrown in the mix, that being the Scar H. Now, this thing was an absolute beast if you played around with it. It did have some issues in which it was sometimes harder to control, some of the movement wasn't the greatest, but all in all, it was still a ton of fun to play around with, especially when you could dominate with it. Now, the interesting part is that the LMG sister variant of this, that being the Hammer, is actually already seen as an in-game model within the weapon armory from the map Rift, a part of the Eclipse DLC. So while that is, of course, not related to the Scar H at all, it's just interesting to me that we've already seen some sorts of hints towards these kind of weapons thrown in the mix already, but we haven't seen any real indication of either the Scar H or the Hammer throughout Black Ops 3's life cycle in terms of the content that we've seen drop to us. Now the fifth and final one, once again, I'm gonna throw it off a little bit of the beaten path. This one kind of comes back to a little bit of a fan favorite, but we're gonna be talking about the LMGs, because the only LMG DLC that we've had is the R70 Ajax, which of course is a beast of a weapon, but it can be problematic at times. It's clunky, it's slow, it doesn't have the best reliability, but one that I'd love to see come back, and one that was a ton of fun to use in Black Ops 2 was the LSAT. Now, this one may or may not be something you guys enjoy, but of course, without the things like the target finder that made this weapon just absolutely incredibly annoying back in Black Ops 2, bringing it up to Black Ops 3's perspective would be very cool. I think a nice refreshing viewpoint for the weapon, and I think it'd be a nice little addition to that LMG slot. But of course, we've never seen any of these yet though, so the chances and probability of them increasingly get smaller and smaller as each day passes that we don't have more DLC drop. But that said, I wanted to throw out some ones that, while thinking about maybe we could see more DLC coming, what weapons popped into my mind as to what would be very cool to add into Black Ops 3. Now, of course, things like the MG08, the STG-44, the M1927, those sorts of weapons are already in the Zombies game code, so those are plausible as well that they could move over. But these weapons that we detailed today, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback here on them. Would you guys like to see them come to Black Ops 3? Theoretically speaking, that you could in fact end up getting them out of supply drops. I know many people may not care at all because, like me, your supply drop luck might not be the greatest in terms of not having the greatest weaponry out of it or the weapons that you necessarily want. But also, are there any that you guys would love to see come to Black Ops 3 that I maybe didn't mention here within this video? That said though, love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay updated with everything we have here regarding Black Ops 3, Call of Duty World War II, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel, so make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a beat. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hope you guys on a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.